Welcome everybody to another fine chapter of Book Chat, which is a free educational program sponsored by Assisting Hands Home Care in Bethesda, Maryland. And we are very pleased to have the author of Finding Meaning and Success, Living a Fulfilled and Productive Life, Chris Palmer, with us. And we are going to do our little intro to why we do this, and then we're going to ask Chris some questions, and then you'll have a chance to ask Chris questions as well, or you can put them in chat if you want me to ask on your behalf. Any of those things work. So you should know that I have been in the arts and healing world for about 35 years and came to home care just a couple of years ago to help families in Montgomery County and Fairfax County find solutions to aging well at home. And it's been a great journey. And I just admire all of these families for taking the time and the support and the love to support their loved ones at home. It is not an easy task, but we try to make it that much easier. And Steve started this business 8 years ago with his wife, who's a yoga teacher. And he totally gets it. You know, he had two parents who died in hospitals without much support, and he really felt like that he could do better. So he is a recovering attorney who decided that this would be a good thing to do. And I'm glad he did. So through this organization, I have now been able to offer Zoom sessions that are educational, inspiring, good for your health, and provide that free dose of creativity, which is great medicine. And more about that at another time. So welcome, Chris. And let me get to my, it's playing the host and doing all the things moving. So let me get there. Okay. So this is a little blurb about Chris's book, but Chris didn't just wake up and write this book. As he just admitted to me, it took him 20 years or so to write this book. He has had a very full life, and I just thought it would be nice, Chris, for you to give people kind of that capsule picture of how you came through to this moment of your life.
Sure.
In 20 seconds or less. No, just
yes. No, I'd be delighted. First of all, thank you, Irene, Cassandra, Hamali, and Musa. Thank you so much for coming today. It's delightful to have this chance to talk with you. So when I was young, I was a naval officer in the Royal Navy. I worked for the, I did lots of different things. I worked for Jimmy Carter. I worked on Capitol Hill for a senator, and blah blah blah. But one thing that I noticed about my young adulthood was how unhappy I was. I was just I was successful on the outside, got lots of degrees and going to good schools, all that stuff. But I was very unhappy, and it was only when I realized, kind of obvious, but it wasn't. It just took me a long time to realize it. When I realized that I should write down what I want to accomplish with my life, write a mission statement, that I really began to get some satisfaction from my life. So I spent a long time, many years, drafting a personal mission statement. But this is back in the early 1960s. I was born in 1947, and then. So this book is a result of all that work. I later on became a professor. I was a wildlife filmmaker for years. I did stand-up comedy. I did lots of different things. But one thing I focused on that whole time is helping people live better lives, derived from my own failures to live well and what I learned by coming to overcome that. So how's that for a quick 20 seconds?
I think that was great, but really undersells yourself. So you're an award-winning filmmaker, you're a longtime professor, and actually the book reads much like a gentle textbook. I can hear you speaking to, everybody's younger than us now, right? So to the younger folks about, think about what you're doing, encouraging them to really be intentional with their lives.
Right,
And
right, right.
sometimes their frontal lobes just aren't ready yet, but eventually they might get there. So let's talk about how you set up the book. And because I think that's so interesting
Yeah.
how people, jump into it. So there's a big table of contents, so
Yeah.
a little
So,
daunting.
so Patricia, very simply, what I urge people to do, what I found most useful in my own life, and that, by the way, a disclaimer: this is not the only way to have a successful and meaningful life, but it's the way this worked for me and the way I outline in the book. That I liken it to a stool with three legs. The first leg of the stool is having a vision. You want a vision for your life. Without a vision, the people perish, and that's true. And so you want a vision for your life, which is an overall looking down 30,000 feet. It's the first leg of the stool. But you also need a second leg of the stool for a successful life, and that is deriving goals from that vision. Those goals should be rooted in the vision. And by the way, the vision should be rooted in your values. And then the third leg of the stool is taking action. So there's vision, goals, and then taking action. And you need all three, because we all know people who are very frenetic and maybe even have a vision, but don't set goals. And so they're all over the place. And other people who don't have a vision are very busy. And other people who have a vision, but don't act. So you need all three legs of the stool to have a successful life: a vision, setting goals, and taking action. Taking action, of course, includes things like time management and time blocking, things like that. So that's a quick overview of the book.
Yeah, no, and very accurate. And the couple of things that are practical in the book that I really liked is that you are very well read and you are not shy about quoting other folks and making that acknowledgement up front. It's a beautiful tribute to all the people that have contributed in your life, from your wife to your children to your grandchildren to famous authors, spiritual leaders. I mean, everybody's in this book, which makes it even more resonating to more people.
Yeah.
So I think that was a really nice way to capture that.
Like Newton, we stand on the shoulders of giants, and I don't think, if I was honest, I think there's nothing original in the book. It's all common sense, and but I do credit a lot of people from whom I've learned. Yeah.
Well, if nothing else that I've learned over the years is that it's one thing to be a striped painter and say, when you look at the painting as a viewer, oh, anybody could do that. They're just stripes on a canvas. It's another thing to actually mix the colors, prepare the canvas, and do the work. Right. And as a former apprentice of Gene Davis, the famous colorist in Washington, believe me, it's a lot of work. And I know you're being very humble when you say there's nothing new in this, but actually putting it all together like this gives it a real newness and intention.
Yeah.
And even as a planner, organizer type person myself, I found going back to different pages going, oh, what was Chris's take on this? That was kind of what would Chris say about that? So one of the things that I really like in your introduction is a phrase you use called slow success.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes. I think I give a lot of workshops about how to succeed in life, and I think a lot of them come to them thinking there's going to be a quick answer, quick fix. They got a problem, I'm going to tell them some magic. But the thing about success is really it's about character development, about nurturing your soul, about being a better person, and that takes time. There's nothing epiphanic about it, or there's often not an epiphany so much as slowly working. And so fast success is something to be, I think, skeptical about. People who make a lot of money fast or whatever. But what I mean by slow success is taking time to nurture your character, to ascertain what your values are, to think deeply about what really matters to you, and then live a life according to what deeply matters to you. And all that takes time. There's not a quick fix. It's slow.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important part of this. And then the other part, of course, I loved was approach it like life as a creative artist. So tell us about that piece.
Well, it is so, we all live our lives and they're quotidian and in a sense banal and mundane and very ordinary and commonplace. But in another way, it's miraculous that we're all here. It's just a miracle that we actually live. We were obscure and not known, and we will become obscure and unknown. But we are here on this earth for this sliver of time, and we are incredibly lucky. There are billions of people who would have been alive, except our parents mated at the time when, and along came us. It's just a miracle. So yeah, so I think the way to approach your life is to approach it as a designer would, a painter would, or an artist or a sculptor. You are sculpting and painting and gradually creating and shaping. Although life may seem mundane, it's a wonderfully creative act. Every day we get up and live our lives, we are creating a life. To hopefully something we can be very proud of, and so when we die, we won't have any regrets. So I think I love that notion of coming to your life as an artist and thinking about what you want to produce, envisioning the final product. As Stephen Covey used to encourage us to do, envisioning the final product. How is it you want to look when you're in your 70s or 80s? What do you want to look back on?
Yeah. And then of course there's the whole idea of legacy.
Yeah.
And we can talk about that a little bit too. I was recently unfortunately going to a lot of funerals on Zoom, of course. Yeah. And one of the prayers or whatever was saying, if you thought that God was watching every move, then would you do what you did just then? Or, it was something to that context. Right. And that's kind of what I felt about when you wrote about the creative artist, is like looking at the bigger vision and then looking at it in terms of how does this affect other people? Mm-hmm. Because a lot of what you speak about in the book is being kind and supporting each other as you go up this ladder of success. Right. And the success isn't necessarily about money. It's about, feeling good about yourself and making sure you have the tight-knit family that you want to have, whatever your goals are.
Absolutely.
But I really like that idea. It's like, if you were thinking of your life as a movie and you replayed it, would you have done it like that? Or would you have made a different choice that day?
Yeah. Or another way to say that, I'm a secular humanist, and I'm not a believer. So another way to say that is, when you're older, you don't want to have regrets. You don't want to be in your deathbed and thinking, damn, why didn't I spend more time with my children? Why didn't I apologize to my husband? Why didn't, you don't want to have those kinds of regrets. You want to die peacefully and with serenity. And so so it's getting to the same thing you're talking about, Patricia, thinking about that, thinking ahead to the future you want.
Yeah. Well, as many of my friends know, I believe God is an ADHD adult male who's forgotten all about us. But that's my own thing. But one of the other things I really like about Irene loves that, because she wrote a book about the care and feeding of the aging male species.
Yeah.
But one of the things also, even within, you put a lot into the very beginning of the book. And one of the things I had to smile at was the 36 fundamental questions. 36, Chris. I mean, that's way more than fundamental.
Right.
But it was great. And they really do make you think.
Yeah.
And I think, in terms of value of this book for people who might be interested in buying it, these questions at the end of each chapter that help you formulate what just happened. It's very professorial. Thank you, Mr. Academician. But it also helps you frame that plan of action that you're working towards, the mission statement, by just answering these questions. And they're not easy questions.
No.
And they may change every few years. They may change after a cataclysmic event in your life, like a marriage or a divorce or a parent dying. I mean, things happen in the person's life, and these questions could get answered differently each time.
Yeah. Yeah, I like your comments. The questions at the end of each chapter are a way of kind of helping you to remember the key lessons. Yeah.
Yeah, it's nicely done. So with that in mind, would you like to read a portion of it for us so we can get a feel for how it
Absolutely.
sounds?
I'm going to read from page 95. Successful people manage their lives so they're focused on what matters to them. They're good time managers and well organized. This is the beginning of part 3 to the book. Successful people don't just have good intentions. They take action to make a difference in their own lives and in the lives of others. Taking action, when coordinated with specific and inspiring goals, leads to a more accomplished, meaningful, and fulfilled life. Success is the natural consequence of consistently acting in accordance with the values and vision expressed in your personal mission statement and in accordance with your goals. And somewhere else, Patricia, I defined what I meant by success. A successful person pursues what matters to them and lives a life of meaning, purpose, and joy. They overcome setbacks and failures. They stay focused on their goals and they die with few regrets. So no mention of a big house or a big boat there.
No, it's wonderful. So there's a lot of folks out there I noticed that don't have a vision. And I really I feel for them. I feel like they're missing out on, they're very action oriented, like you said in the with the three-legged stool. They may be very action oriented. They certainly have well meaning, but I don't think they have one clue of what the goal is for their life.
Yeah, maybe,
So
yes.
how do you encourage people to find that goal? Where do you get that? I forget where that was in here, but it's in here.
Yeah, it usually starts because people are not happy. That deep down they feel a sort of a rumbling of discontent, a rumbling of something's missing in my life. And now if people don't think anything is missing, and if people are completely happy and still don't have a vision, it could be that they live very simple lives
Yeah,
and
small
don't think
lives.
about anything,
Right.
and that's fine. I mean,
That's
they just
fine.
come home, have a beer, watch television, go to bed, and blah blah blah. But a lot of people, like me in my early adult life, I'm basically unhappy. They're wondering. They keep asking themselves, "What is wrong with me? Why aren't I comfortable? I'm so privileged. I live in America. I'm white. I've got all these advantages. Why aren't I happy?" And when you start asking that question, then you begin to see that something is missing. And often what's missing is you're not living according to your goals. You want to be kind and considerate and generous and courageous, all those other things, and you're not doing that. There's some, you're not behaving in a way that's consistent with your goals. And so that leads to thinking about what kind of life you want to lead. Yeah.
So I found the part I was going to mention. It's the beginning of part 2, and it says, set goals derived from your vision. And it says, one reason people are reluctant to set goals is that they dread the pain
Yeah.
that they imagine goes along with failing to reach those goals.
Yeah.
If they don't set goals, then the threat of the pain is removed. But so is the possibility of beginning your life over again.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that attracted me to this book is, number one, you're a person who's lived a very long, rich life, and so you're looking back at a lot of things that have happened before. And there are so many people in our world who are going to be retiring from their usual career, and retirement has taken on a whole new definition these days. People start a second career, whether it's for pay or not for pay, in a volunteer capacity. You're volunteering at Montgomery Hospice. You volunteer with the local village that you belong to.
Yep.
So I think that, your life over again, I think this book might appeal not only to those younger folks that we talked about earlier, but also to the baby boomers who are looking at their lives now and saying, okay, I was a federal employee for 30 years. I've got a nice retirement. I've got my kids are around, they're growing up. what do I really want now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I'm still vital and alive and strong.
Mhm.
You know, do I want to be an artist? Do I want to, you
Mhm.
know,
Yeah,
whatever.
I love that, Patricia, and yes, we need to constantly question what we're doing. Ask ourselves, am I the person I really want to be? Am I becoming the kind of person I really want to be? And and um, and constantly reinvent and create better and better lives. So our drive to improve our lives never ends, whatever age. Yeah, I agree.
I'm going to honor Irene with her hand up since she was so
Yeah,
sweet to do that. I love that little
yeah.
icon. Go ahead, Irene, unmute yourself and ask your
Okay,
question.
great. Chris, thank you so much. I'm finding this so helpful. Actually, I can't, for some reason, I'm not seeing everybody on the screen. But so Chris, I have a question. I love what you're saying. I'm going to be buying your book and looking at it. I'm 75, and I find that a number of my goals and actions and visions have been really tamped down in the pandemic. Okay, basically, I'm in Florida where we've been quarantining, kind of barely semi-quarantining. So how do you suggest regrouping when, the outside world has changed so much?
Well, Irene, it's so nice to meet you over Zoom, and thank you for your interest. And that's a very good question. So let me check I've understood you first. You are finding that a lot of your ambitions and what you'd like to have been tamped, as you put it, tamped down during the pandemic, and you're wondering how to best sort of overcome those restrictions. Is that what you're asking?
Right. Can't leave the house, really can't interact except on Zoom, which has its own limitations.
Right.
Social life has changed, those kinds of limitations.
Yeah. So I think in a way, you've got to reinvent a new life, and think of ways to do new things. So even in the pandemic, you can still go out for walks in nature by yourself or with a friend.
Right.
You can still meet outside, outside with people, and so I think it's a matter of sort of adapting, like being stoic. I recommend stoicism, so I think it's a matter of sort of thinking about what the disadvantages are, and then sort of redesigning, reshaping, reinventing our lives. I think in some ways a way to start with this, Irene, is to is to take this attitude. We are so lucky to be facing these setbacks of the pandemic. In a way, we are so, I know we all complain and whine about it.
But we're here on this side of the earth.
Well, yes.
Mhm.
And also, and yes, that's a good point, Patricia. But the point I was going to make is that we should be grateful in a way. I mean, sounds ridiculous, but we should be grateful for setbacks. And the pandemic is a setback. We should be grateful to them because it can show what our characters are. It can show us who we are. If we went through life without any disadvantages, disappointments, without any setbacks, without any failures, we would never really discover what we're made of. So I think taking that attitude helps a little bit. I know that's a tough one to take, but think, being grateful for having these disadvantages. Then I think seeing how you can reinvent your life to adapt to the new situation. That's not a very good answer. And if I was working with you one-on-one, I could help you much more. But it all depends on so much, on your own desire and so on. But good luck. But Irene, good luck as you work through this. And I hope you.
Yeah, she's being very humble, Chris. She did publish a book, and she's writing another one. I mean, she's being very. I'm just telling you the backstory.
Fabulous.
Well, Chris, I really appreciate your suggestions and your advice, and it also kind of leads into a second question, if you don't mind me hogging the question thing here. Like, I hear you just being able to switch so many gears in your life work, and I'm wondering, what character traits do you think are so important to be able to do the switching, and also to overcome the obstacles and like pandemic or personal obstacles, like what do you think people need to nurture in themselves to help keep their visions?
Yeah. Well, I think a key one is patience. There's no sort of quick answer.
Mhm.
Another I think is revising your personal mission statement, having a mission statement which is completely revised and designed to deal with this pandemic. So
Mhm.
where you would outline what you want to accomplish, and the friends you want to spend time with, and the
Mhm.
family issues, and your health and fitness. And you'd lay all that out, and you sort of in a way invent a new personal mission statement for this situation we're in. But I think the character traits are the ones that are good for any situation. They are patience, they are tenacity, not giving
Mhm.
up. They are generosity to yourself and to others.
Absolutely.
They are uh, um, uh, having expectations which are in line with reality. We want to be audacious. We want to be audacious and bold, but we also want to not be completely, have our head in the clouds. Be quixotic or impractical. I mean, we want to be bold, but keep our feet on the ground. So I think revising what our goals are appropriately.
And I think this is a good segue for me to tell you that one of the chapters I also found very resonating was learning to say no.
Yeah.
That as a person who does way too many things, probably like you, Chris, it's challenging when we're asked to support folks and constantly being asked to give, how we can say no. And I
Yeah.
think Irene may be in that opposite stage right now where she's not getting asked enough, where she'd like to be more busy, and that's the frustration. So that's the COVID factor on the saying no, I think. And Hamali is also just authored a book. She's going to be my next guest.
Wow.
Sacred Death. And so you two would definitely enjoy meeting each other, as Hamali delves in the world of death and dying, and so does Chris.
Wow.
And she's a death doula. And
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Hamali, I would love to learn more about you. Can you send me a note about your book? My email is Christopher.
It's right there on the screen. Yeah.
Oh, it's on the screen. Oh, there it is. It's
Yeah.
on the screen. Yeah. Christopher.n.palmer@gmail.com. If Hamali, if you would send me information about your book and you, I'd be delighted. Thank you.
Yeah. So I just want to round this up a little bit and say that it's always so interesting to me when you read a book with a big appendix and you think, oh my God, what does this mean? But you've actually very generously put your entire handout that you have in your class about how to do a mission statement, how to take action. It's like, it's all here. And that is a wonderful, wonderful gift.
Thank you.
So I wanted to ask you, so thank you for this book, but you have also written another book about something that's just happened to you. And I thought maybe we just take a minute and you could describe how that came about. And it's a completely different book. What happened?
Well, what happened was I had open heart surgery about 3 months ago. And when I got out of the ICU and came home, I was in a lot of pain. I spent 10 days writing this book, describing what I'd gone through, really with my daughter, one of my daughters is a doctor. So we co-wrote it. And it's called Open Heart, and you can find it on Amazon.com. It's a very interesting book with lots of photographs and cartoons that I did about my experience, which it's a terrible operation, a brutal, savage operation. They saw open your sternum, and it's just terrible.
Yeah,
but I've completely recovered, and I'm able to stand on my hands again and play tennis. And but I wrote it as a gift for anybody who's got heart problems and possibly facing open heart surgery.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And it's also, I imagine it wasn't part of your mission statement to have open heart surgery, but it is part of your mission statement, as you wrote in the book, that you want to stay healthy and be front ending your health rather than, dealing with issues later. So good for you for getting the surgery. A lot of men don't go to the doctor, so they die of heart attacks.
Right.
My cousin knew that he was having a heart attack, and he knew to leave his door open so that the EMTs wouldn't knock it down. And I was so proud of him.
Yeah.
I said, the life you saved may be your own if you just remember to unlock and leave your door open.
Right.
So, these kinds of things are really important. And I really appreciate you reaching out to the community in so many different ways. You also have 2 memoir writing series coming up.
Yep.
To help people write their own stories.
Yeah.
Any last words, Chris?
No. But if anybody listening or watching wants to learn more, they can write to me, and I'll send them information about the courses and workshops that I offer. And all my website also has more information. ChrisPalmerOnline.com. ChrisPalmerOnline.com. So thank you, Patricia. Thank you so much. It's been an honor to be with you. Hamali and Irene, Cassandra, and Musso. Thank you all so much for being here and asking questions.
Any other questions before we say goodbye? Cassandra, Musso? No?
No questions. I enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
All right. Well, I'll see you guys at another Zoom. And thank you, Chris. And everybody have a safe and wonderful day.
Thank you, Patricia. Thank you so much. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.